Hello, hello. Why do people do that? Why, when people go live on Facebook, they say hello or good evening like 2 or 3 times?
I don't know. Why? I don't know. Do
I
you
don't
have a
know. It's
reason?
just done. We both did it.
Did we? I mean, isn't that a good way of greeting the people by saying good morning or good evening, good evening, good evening, just to get the attention? Isn't that what your pastor do when he says, "Let the church say amen again, and say amen again"?
Yeah, but that typically that's a call and response. There's
Okay, well,
nobody responding to us.
okay, well
I'm just saying, I've been
wait
paying
a
attention
minute.
to
There
that.
is a response. We just don't see the response.
Well, there's nobody on the live yet, so they're not saying good morning to us. They're not going to see this until they play it back. I'm just saying,
Okay,
just
so
asking.
so what? Okay, so what would you like? How would you like to open it up?
No,
Would you
I
like
don't
to
have a
make
problem with
it?
opening it up. I just find it very interesting that typically when people go live, they say hello or good evening, good morning, good night a couple of times. And
Yeah.
if you take a look at it, again, I have nothing to do in the middle of the night when my kids are crying. And so after they go back to sleep, I watch videos online and I notice how many times people say hello, hello, hello.
I think it's just a way to kind of gather the attention.
Yes, I can
I think that's
that.
really what it is.
I can
Yeah.
hold that.
So you've been staying up late at night watching videos. What kind of videos have you been watching, Johnson?
I've been watching whatever shows up on my Instagram feed or my Facebook feed. Joy has me following all of these funny groups. So she has me watching some African group now that
Of course.
I don't know what they're saying. And at night, I'm too tired to read the subtitles. So I go back. So I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
So that's interesting. How do you function during the day?
Coffee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't drink coffee. I heard coffee is a great stimulant or stimulant. Yeah, that helps get. I think is the caffeine, right? Mm-hmm. Keeps you moving.
So I drink a freeze dried Vietnamese coffee. It's really strong.
Of course you just go the same way and just get Fogers or whatever.
No. So 4 packs a day, and I'm able to make it.
4?
Yeah. So that's two 10-ounce cups, which is not much if you know some of the coffee drinkers I know.
Is that how you got through the Game Changer weekend?
Well, yes, I had several. I had more than my typical 2 cups a day for the Game Changer weekend. But wasn't it amazing?
It was absolutely amazing. It was actually a learning experience. I mean, it was the first time we tried to do something that big on a streaming service. It was that first time we've ever had that many people on the service. I mean, be able to move the 20, for the concert, 16 to 20 people in and out. I thought that was epic. I mean, we normally have no more than 5, which we never run into stuff, but it was fun. It was absolutely fun. I think that the Refuel the town hall started off great.
Yeah.
The Refuel,
it was so good to see, to hear from the bishops, all of them, right? I really, I sat and watched the town hall as they were live, and it was just so good to see them, even though they were separate, just hearing all of their voices at one time. It's the first time we got to hear that without them being at convocation.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true. And they are committed to coming back and doing another one prior to convocation. So I'm really excited.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So that was, and it was good to hear from Archbishop, right?
Yes.
We have another sample coming in sometime this weekend, so I'm really excited about that. To where we can put that on next Friday.
Yeah,
and so I was hoping we can try to get that tonight, but I get it. Things happen, and so the request actually went out earlier this afternoon, so I can't make everything. But the concert and the workshops, they were really, really good. I really hope that people really take be intentional about writing because of the writing workshop that we had. Elder Kelvin Teller, thank you so much, Elder, for coming on and doing that with us and making that happen. And as well as, you know, you and I put on lights, camera, and action. So I really hope that people really be intentional about applying some of those feedback, as well as some of those steps that Elder gave us.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. And it was necessary, right? So I a few people hit me up in my messenger just saying, you know, it was they had been thinking about writing, or they started to write, and so it was good for them to just get his perspective, and you know, they want more, right? Yeah. I've seen posts from Lights, Camera, Action. You know, people are intentional about, you know, shouting us out to let us know, hey, they paid attention. Hey, they've made these changes. Good. So yeah, just really
I was having technical difficulties that day.
You know, I wasn't going to say anything.
Well, why not? Just that's why Kyla Bell said, put it out there so that the people can't talk about you. That's what I'll take that from her show. She said she had a run of her stockings, and she said, let me talk about it before people talk about me. Okay. So yeah, I had technical difficulties.
You did.
How about that?
And you know, but what I appreciate is we were prepared, right? And so as I named it in the thing, you know, we had to find our groove, right? Because I wasn't accustomed to hosting something with you, and you have technical difficulties. So so
I think that was a little shade. Was that shade?
Well, you know, I put a bow on it.
Just a tad bit. Was you throwing a little shade?
But you know, and I'm also excited. I was excited about the inductees, the new game changers. You know, it's something to be to work with folks, and then just to see them in action, right? Again, what I so appreciate. I've been spending the last couple of weeks just really trying to be grateful about whatever, right? So it didn't matter what it was. And what I appreciate is just how we saw the bishops together virtually. The game changers have not been together. I missed last year's. Yes. And so,
yes, you did. Well, you're having babies. Babies.
Yeah. So to create that or manifest that time virtually, you know, so we started out Thursday, right? Thursday. And so Thursday and then Friday, and we had meetings before the meetings after the meetings. And so just to spend time and chats going on, it was really good. I see Janelle's in the feed, Jermaine's in the feed.
What's going on, Jermaine and Janelle?
It was just really good to be with them.
What did you think about the sermon on Sunday? Besides my nostrils.
Besides your nostrils. Oh gosh, I gotta find that and put it in the feed. So you know, I think the sermon was powerful. You know, that has been echoed across the nation for anybody who's heard it. What I appreciate, and I shared this with you, what I appreciate, it was that Phoenix message has been in you since I met you, right? And so you've entertained it in segments of things and conversations. And to see it manifest from the preaching platform was powerful, right? And so it was your thought when we were planning the game changers, and to see it manifest. You sweated, yes, you did. You were getting ready.
I don't think I was not sweating that much. I just named it because I didn't want y'all to name it.
Well, you did, right? But no, the context of the message, and I think Bishop Holland framed it very beautifully. Like it was progressive, it was driving, it was engaging. Like after that, I needed to check where my fire wasn't burning, right? And you know, it made me take a look at like, again, I'm all about, you know, kind of reviewing and looking into where I am as a person, where I am in ministry, where I am as a parent. And so it just made me kind of survey my area and just make sure, like, where was I turned off? Right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I've been paying attention to that this week as well.
Yeah, it was really good. It
was a great weekend. I mean, it was, you know, and what I appreciate is that we all work together. So thank you for that feedback. Thank you for that message that you just shared about, you know, take note to where your fire isn't burning, you know. I think that's dope, right? And that's a part 2, just so you know. I'm just saying that could be a part 2.
Listen, you can preach that one. So everybody, why don't you take some time and share this feed? I'm looking down right now because I am sharing it to all of the groups that I am a part of. And so please share. I see we have 10 folks watching. Damu, it's good to see you. Trina Johnson, it's good to see you.
And can we put the subscribe to our YouTube page? Our link in there. We're gonna get Ashton, if you can put that in there for us. Hey, please, you 10 people, please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, because we're trying to get 1,000 subscriptions, members to subscribe to our page so that we can do some other stuff. YouTube has like levels of abilities, capabilities that you can do. So the more people you have, the more capability you can do. So we're trying to, reach a lot. So please share this here. We have an amazing night schedule for you. We all know that we're still in Unity Fellowship Church of Baltimore. It's Men's Month. Whoop, 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 whoop. And we're celebrating Men of Hope, Love, and Action.
Yep.
And that's what our theme is. And it was given to us by our pastor, which, I adore. And so, we're going to figure out and see what's going to go on. I see you, Reverend Offer. Thank you for joining us. First Gentleman. We had a great time with him last week as well. First Gentleman, Willie Hinton. Just talking with them about their journeys. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a conversation with trans men. We had this conversation has been going on within our church for quite some time. I've had it. Brother Dre's had it. I'm sure that the other people have had it in terms of, how do we support specifically cis males? How do we support trans males and their journey, and how do we tag on, or how do we join forces to support them? And so this is the beginning. This is an introduction of that conversation. It's not that we have a bunch of males on the line where we're going to just have dialogue. We're just going to have 2 trans males who are going to come on and share their journeys. They're open to questions. They're going to ask us questions. And so again, our goal is specifically just to start the conversation and, figure out a platform that will make everyone welcome to where they can share and be respected, because that's what our goal is. Our goal is to live in love. Our goal is to live with hope. And our goal is to live in action. And so this is a community. This is our brothers where we want to embrace, and we want to learn how to support them even more as they journey in their transition, as well as their life. And so I'm excited about this. And so tonight we have Kingdom. I'm sorry. Kingdom.
You did it. I knew it. I should have made a bet. So before we introduce our guests, and let me. So there have been some questions as to why I am still in the chair during Men's Month. So let's talk about that.
Okay. So here's how I feel about it. I mean, this is Refuel. We are the host of Refuel, and I feel that I don't personally feel that there's a problem if a woman is sitting in a chair as we are dealing with male issues. I think that women have always been a part of our community, specifically males. I think we learn from women. We learn from being in relationship with women. That's how I think. That's my opinion. I feel that I don't have that, that your perspective won't be needed or isn't needed, or your voice should be silent in that moment. That's my opinion. And I did not feel that, that was a conversation that needed to be had. But that's just me, right? And obviously, and we have a very close relationship. And I'm not quite sure. And I never thought about outside. I never thought about, asking another male to join. Because it's been a very busy and a very stressful and a very a time of loss for a lot of our in our church. And I felt like there was a groove going on. I felt like there was a rhythm going on. And I knew that if where I fell short at, you will pick up.
Yeah.
And I think that's just an instant thing for me. And so maybe that's also a little selfishness part, as well as, like I know you'll have it, right? And so that's just how I feel. And I know that probably made you feel uncomfortable all month. Yeah.
So, I am a person that I enjoy the background. I thrive in the background, which is why I stay in logistics and administration, because I don't need to be upfront. I don't need to be seen. And I am committed to Friday nights, right? So, and during Men's Month, what to be quite transparent, I did I stepped back, I fell back a little bit when it came to the topics, right? Because I've been driving, hey, what are we talking about? Monday morning, what are we talking about on Friday? Sending stuff in. And so intentional in Men's Month, as it was leading up, that the committee would be responsible for coming up with the topics. Because we're in a loving and affirming and open space, I did not consider not being here on Friday night. I would have been open to, if one of the other folks in the ministry wanted to join in. And I would have, it would have had to be still, we would have had to talk about that, right? We would have had to come publicly to say why, because I'm all about making sure that even as we're talking about this, again, while it's not my lived experience, the trans man, the cis man, it's not my lived experience, I still want to know and ensure that they see support, right? And so while again, I can't identify, yes, I've been through that, but I want to be aware, and I want it to be clear that just because it's Men's Month doesn't mean that I just automatically didn't show up on Fridays, right? And so we've had to, very honest, kind of work through some of the emotions of it, where we felt like, everything was on your shoulders. And I just kind of was like, okay, here, Sean, you take care of it. Well, it was really just because my mind, there's a whole ministry taking care of this, and, you'll tell me what to do and I'll do it. And so that's just really where, for the folks who, I would invite the folks to conversations like this that feel like, because it's Men's Month, because it's Women's Month, that there doesn't need to be a woman at the table, that because it's, Women's Month, that men can't be at the table. I think that's what Unity Fellowship movement is about, right? It's about debunking that. It's about reframing that. So Pastor made a good point about Pastor Penderman, right? And so
I was going to say that. I was just going to name
that. It's all about creating that space. It's all about reframing the norm.
And we're intentional in Baltimore about doing that. We invite women during our Men's Month to participate. So I'm glad that you did not move.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that, and I know that it was a little shaky. I know that we've had tons of conversations surrounding this month, and and it's interesting how we're at the end and there's so much coming on. Right. And so I'm just saying, just hold in there. You know what I mean? Like I got you. And like I told you today, this is an opportunity for us to share something and do something together. This is what we did. This is what we came up with. This is the idea. And so I'm glad that you're in a chair, and I personally wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
Okay. How about that?
So Freedom King.
You want to? I was going to say Freedom King.
I just wanted to make sure you knew.
I messed it up. I did not mess up Freedom King's name, and I'm sure that brother wouldn't mind. I'm sure Kingdom he wouldn't mind Kingdom.
He said he wouldn't mind Kingdom, but I wanted to make sure that we know what his name is.
Yes, his name is Freedom King. He's from New York, and I'm excited about him coming on. He actually was. It's interesting because we did reach out to other people, but there's a lack of response in a sense, I should say. And Jermaine, Reverend Jermaine from New York, part of the Game Changers, actually hooked us up, and I was so excited. And Ashton Peterson is here as well. So we're just gonna bring them in. We're gonna have some conversation, and feel free to put some ideas or some questions in the box or your comments, and we'll make sure we get in on. So would you welcome Freedom King and Ashton Peterson, please?
Yay!
Hey. What's up, guys? How you doing?
What's up?
What's going on?
Good to have you. Good to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
That y'all able to join. I mean, especially since there was some technical difficulties.
Listen, if it wasn't for his patience, I probably wouldn't be here right now. So we're good.
We know it wasn't Sean on the phone.
Listen,
where one brother lacks, another one picks it up. We're all good.
Right. Ashton was on it, so thank you. So, hey, fellas, we are excited about you just being willing and honest in your truth to just have this conversation. It is in me that we will have a bigger conversation on a bigger scale with lots of other men, and I don't know when that'll be, but I'm committed to making that happen with some of the other men in our ministry. So I hope that this doesn't stop right here with us. Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
Should. It's an important conversation.
Yeah. So let's start there. Why do you think it's an important conversation?
It's funny because when Rev Carla was speaking, I was laughing a little bit to myself, just now, because I'm like, that's exactly how a T guy feels most of the time before they are physically of what the society feels what a male looks like. And it's very funny because you said right before that, I don't know if I could ever understand. And it's funny because this is that moment for you. Like you're in that moment.
Good. Yeah.
And that's just a great example to explain the feeling of sitting in a chair where everyone else doesn't feel like you belong. Now, maybe the only difference is that you don't identify that way, but it's still a feeling of misbelonging.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Wow. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I wanted to say it because I was listening to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's very important because, like me, I do construction, right? So, through the very, very, very beginning of the transition process, and I'd say that I'm probably somewhere like dead smack in the middle at this point. But in the very, very beginning of the transition process, a lot of cis males are, they're very judgmental. They're very, they are who they are, and everyone has their own opinions. And I welcome opinion and questions. I do not welcome disrespect. There's a big difference. You understand?
Right.
Because you can not like me, but you can respect the hell out of me. And a lot of people do that. I don't know, Asha, do you ever have that in your life too, where people like kind of, they don't maybe like who you are, but they respect you as a human? Do you encounter that?
I mean, actually, for me, I've come across where I haven't had any blowback really from anybody in my life around transition, and everybody accepting me, everybody has loved on me. Nobody has really changed. Like I am who I am, and now, bro, instead of sis, like that's, and I love that. I love my family and friends for that, because that support is definitely necessary in anyone's life. But yeah, definitely for us.
Do you believe that has something to do with people being more exposed, more information, or there's trailblazers that have come before, in a sense of where you are? Do you think that plays a part of that?
Absolutely, because because even my mom, she kind of struggled with it. She's like, but she was honest about it. She was like, I don't understand, but you're my child and I love you, and I'll always love you, and I'll always support you in anything that you do. So I didn't expect that, and it was sad that I didn't, because of growing up in the church and hearing something different and hearing that God can't love that, but so seeing that kind of loving it was just amazing to me. Yeah.
That's crazy because the funny you bring up the church. The church is actually where I was okay, and I wasn't allowed to express that as my transition was happening. I've been told by multiple churches that I wanted to be a part of that I should just go to an LGBTQ church. Now I think every church is amazing, regardless of what it is that you're feeling, you're worshiping for your own personal spirituality. It's beautiful. No matter what the parameters is, whatever it is, it's a beautiful worship. I don't judge at all. But I do feel that, why do I feel like I have to go somewhere to worship or feel like I have to be pushed? If I want to go somewhere, that's been the issue. I haven't sung gospel in so many years because, you can't, I've been told you can't be a part of certain things that the church does, but you could still come and worship here. And I was like, well, then I don't want to come here, So, that's another conversation around, T guys and things that we go through as well.
Right. So I'll get to you as well, Ashton. Share a little bit about when you realized that your internal sense of who you were was not matching. What was that like for you, and how did you move through that?
I think it started probably about 5 or 6 years old. As far back as I can personally remember, there may be things before that. I don't know. It would be things like, but I'm a boy. What do you mean? What are you talking about? And these are things that were completely conscious, not in my subconscious, whatever. As a young child, I really believed that I was a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, whatever that meant to me as a kid, I don't know what it meant. I don't know if it was a physical thing or if it was the boys playing certain things that I wanted to play because I was really into sports. And I don't know what it meant to me at that time, but I just kept saying, I'm a boy. I try to stand in the line of the boys and so on and so forth. And then, you know, getting older, it got to more of an emotional disconnection. I actually attempted suicide at one point. You know, I was 14 years old. So, you know, there's a lot of, there was a lot of different levels to that. But once I came through all that as a young adult, I just realized that, you know, I was a little bit different, and I had to try to figure out who else was a little bit different too, so that I could better understand my indifference.
And
So
what age
kind
were you when you decided to transition?
When I decided to transition, I would say the 22 was when I said, I am going to transition. Like, this is what's going to happen. That was the moment I said that. Now I'm 37.
Okay, you're 37 now?
I'm 37 now. But I didn't start my HRT, which is, you know, my therapy, until about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. That's because I was ill for some time. So I had to take care of my body first.
Right.
That was just life. Sometimes it happens. But to me, I was always a guy, man, didn't matter what therapy I had, didn't have everyone around me respected as such, you know, as far as like my friends. But, you know, I think that it's all about perception, because not having been on HRT, I was still a man. There's nothing you can ever tell me that I'm not a man. I'm a father. I have a 10-year-old daughter. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about how much hair you have on you, even though I wish I had your beard. It's amazing. But, you know, it's not about.
You don't want this gray, though. You don't want the gray.
Right? Gray is knowledge.
You want the gray? You want the gray too?
I want every bit of white and gray that I could possibly get.
Okay.
You know why? I'll tell you later.
No, you know why? You know why? Because it's knowledge. It represents knowledge to me.
I received that. I'm still learning. I received that.
But we're always, always learning.
Can you define what HRT is for the people?
Yes. So that's hormone replacement therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you know, we begin our replacement therapy now. Different people of the trans experience, whether you are female, male, they, however you are identifying and transitioning in your own way, it'll change either how you do it, whether you use a cream or you use a shot. You know, everyone has their own ways of doing it. I personally take a shot. I am not embarrassed to talk about it. It is part of my lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Ashton?
I could actually remember back when I was 3, I was walking with my godmother, and but I was young enough so that she could carry me, and I kept hiding my hair, and because people kept calling me a boy, and you know, I liked that feeling, you know, but she kept like, oh, she's a girl, but I'm like, but at that age, you know, you can't really articulate, oh, this is how I feel or whatever. And then when I realized that I like females, you know, I still struggle because of, again, growing up in the church and what I've been told. So I worked through that before even really thinking about my gender identity. And it took me a long time to accept myself. So I just started transitioning last year medically. But I mean, I started to accept myself back in 2010 when I was just like, yeah, I know I like women, you know, and that's but yeah, so I started transitioning last year, and you know, I've never been happier.
That's good.
Okay.
And that's that point that you brought up, you know, about. Well, I forget what I was going to say. Anyway, I'll remember in a second. Go ahead. You go.
So let me ask you this. So
these are great. I tell you.
Ashton, you talked about you know, liking females, and so do you feel that if that you have that you know, being born a woman, knowing that you to your words, freedom, you know, I know that I'm a boy. Did you feel that you needed to go through the lesbian experience? Or was that an easier segue for you, just from socially being accepted to where your truth is?
Well, I mean, because even when I was younger, like I wanted to go to the boys' bathroom as well, and I also tried to stand up peeing. So
Okay.
It was like I had boy rhythms. I hated wearing dresses. Like this, that was just me naturally. So it wasn't even about being a lesbian or not, because like even if I was gay, because I could,
we were only lesbians because society called us lesbians. Basically.
Okay.
I think that's what you were trying to go.
That's what I'm trying to go.
So
did you identify as a lesbian because that's society?
A default.
Yeah. Like as an aggressive woman, like people for years swore that I wanted to be a man. They're like, why don't you just go and transition? Just cut your breasts off. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. That's not my truth. And so thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah. Let me ask you both a question. Have you benefited from be transitioning? Have you, because they all, men have privilege, right? And so have you experienced any of that since you've transitioned? Have you been around those conversations where men are talking about women, or the voices are being heard, or you're getting asked to do something over a woman? Have you all experienced that?
Well, I mean, I feel like I've always in the guy spaces and one of the guys anyway as the lesbian. So that didn't really change much. And then now, because I'm so new in my transition, and I'm not totally passing, I haven't experienced that from outside people, even though I don't get misgendered, even when I'm going out with strangers. So, which is great. But yeah, I haven't totally seen that or experienced that yet.
Yeah, I have huge shift. Maybe it's because of the work that I do. But on my day job, when I'm not doing my arts, is construction, like I said before, and so there's been a huge shift. I can't even explain it. I mean, it's just from night and day, and it's from everything from the trust of things I can do, even though I've always been able to do these things. I've always been an amazing carpenter, but the trust of the things that I can do, even the tools to be able to utilize, the jobs, and now I can run small things. It's like, it's such a difference. It's crazy. It's insane.
As in terms of having more opportunity than you would if you had not been a man.
Absolutely.
Wow. So I've been reading up on, I can share my experience. I've been around transgenders probably since I was 12, 13, probably younger than that, where in Philadelphia, the trans community gave big parties. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. It's actually my pastor's group. Down where we call the Bottom on Lancaster Avenue, we used to give these big shows, and so I was introduced to transgenders way back then. At that time, they wasn't called transgenders, right? And so they were called cross-dressers or transvestites, and then language change, right? And so, but I met them like that. And so, what I have found as I was growing up, and as I have been coming in contact with more transgenders, is that specifically if you come in contact prior to transitioning, that there's always a hiccup in pronouns, and there's always a hiccup in trying to understand. And I feel like my experience have been a want to understand, and then some people not want to explain, right? And so I'm curious to know, has that been your experience with cis men in terms of building relationships with them, or do you feel confident? Do you feel like you can trust the process in that?
You wanna start?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I've noticed that with cis men, it's a touch and go. I think what was happening at first, I was outing myself to cis men, assuming that they knew already. And that's something I had to stop. Because
so knew that you were transitioning, or you knew
male, like that I didn't pass for a cis male. I would assume that I didn't pass. Just always assume that I don't pass, because my changes haven't been as dramatic, but I've always kind of had a certain masculine look anyway. So maybe that's what it is. But it's in the movement that I move, and I realize that it's less on them and it's more on myself. Because I think sometimes it's the way we approach the conversation, or the way we feel insecure about something
Yeah.
that may turn the conversation somewhere else. I think the more confident you approach a situation or a conversation, whether or not you know or don't know, whatever, the more confident I am in that moment, you're going to receive me better. And that's just for me how men operate and how it's just worked for me, you know, from cis male to men of trans experience. Just that confidence in self, no matter what it is, it's just a confidence, a masculine confidence. That's it. And I've realized that even folks that aren't with the whole transition thing and have had an issue with, that are cis men, they approach me better because I have that sense of confidence.
Thank you.
You know,
I would say that's something that I don't feel that I've had experience with. I mean, so I've been with my job for the last 3 years. So I was transitioning on my job. At my job, once I started to transition, even though I did not look like I look now, I was still going to the men's bathroom. And they, you know, cis men, I mean, it's different than the women's bathroom, how they chat and, you know, kiki or whatever in the bathroom. You know, you go in the bathroom, use it, come out. And there's no beats with that. And I was comfortable because nobody really made me feel like I didn't belong there. My job is awesome, and I actually had the opportunity to be a part of a panel discussion about talking about being trans and transitioning in that work.
That's great.
So, powerful.
Yeah, so I mean, they're opening those spaces for us, but other than that, really, like I haven't had anyone really come to me and ask me, oh, well, how is it like to transition or this or that, to ask questions, even though I'm open to talk about myself. You know, I don't mind.
That's dope. That's dope. Johnson, do you want to read one of the questions or do you want me to hit it?
So
Joy has a question here.
Okay.
What has shifted?
Yep. So Ashton, Joyce asks, what has the shift been like for you specifically in the Black male experience?
Well, so I think this is one reason why, or thing where I could say, oh, I know that it's not a choice to be transgender, because my thing is, who would choose to switch to a place where people like because you're a man, you're just going to be harassed by the cops. Because you're a Black man, you're going to be harassed by the cops. I feel a little more tense around cops now, because of that and because of what's going on in the world. And then even just being transgender, that also is a reason for people just to hate you you know, if they figure out that you're trans. But just being addressed or looked at as a Black man, it's not safe in this world. So yeah. that there's anxiety around that.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to read this comment that before you comment, Freed, I want to read this comment. The lack of confidence is about the system that has trans folk who may not pass be dangerous.
Yeah.
Or danger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Well, a lot of our sisters have been dying for that reason very, very recently.
Yeah,
and it's just
right. Freedom, you want to comment on that Black male experience? Because I think the conversation went a little different.
Yeah, I just wanted to interject a little bit. As somebody who's of color who passes for white, I have a whole different, life. Trust me when I tell you. I'm mixed, and culturally, I was born in Puerto Rico. I'm Latino, but I'm also mixed in other cultures. So it's funny when the conversation comes up, because I was talking about this when we were going through our protesting, and I said a lot of my brothers that are brown and Black skin would tell me, I'm afraid to stand next to my other brothers, my cis brothers that are marching on the line, because they're the ones killing us. So it's like, where's the connection? Like, you're fighting for only some of us? That was the question I think that they had. Like, are you fighting for us too? That's, I think, where the problems were coming in, because people were constantly being killed and defamed by their own people. And as a Latino, I've experienced disrespect in my own culture as well. And it's hard for us, especially islanders. I come from Puerto Rico, and anyone in the West Indies, we've all had issues with our culture, having an issue with LGBT community. And so it's like the conversation is like, well, where do we go at that point? Do we stick to our people who are also defaming us, or do we try? that's where the confusion comes in. I think we're still talking about this every day.
Yeah. So that leads me, that's a great transition into my next question on, do you feel that trans men are left out of the narrative? Trans women are, making, or in the sense of making some progress in terms of Hollywood, or, being constantly in the media, not only just because of the great success, but also because of the violence. And there's more attention given to that. I know that. And so I'm curious to know, and how do we help with that in terms of making you part of the narrative? How do we get you a part of the conversations? Because I know that many feel that they're hidden. Is that the case for the two of you? Do you have any feelings surrounding that?
I feel like, so there's a juxtaposition between wanting to be hidden, which sometimes, that can be safer in some ways, in being hidden because there's so much going on with the trans community on the women's side that, we kind of fade in the background. Whereas, sometimes our women, they're just beaten up. Like I've seen, I don't know, it's like 16 or 17 have been killed this year. It's August.
So I think it's actually like 21 this year so far.
Yeah. That's even worse. But we also can be afraid to even talk about, as men, oh, this happened to me, other than inside of our spaces, because we don't want to be seen as less of a man because this happened,
right?
Yeah, well, that's the issue, is what is a man? That's the ever prevalent question in everyone's mind, whether you are a gay identifying male and how you act, whether you are a trans identifying male and how you act, or even a cis identifying male and how you act, because cis men are not supposed to cry either, right? So these are the conversations that we have around what it even means to be masculine, and the fact that masculinity and gender have nothing to do with who you're attracted to either.
Right. No, I agree with you.
There are so many trans men who are so uncomfortable because they like men and they can't be open about it, because people are like, well, why don't you just stay a woman? Like, what? That doesn't even make sense.
But I think that has a piece to do with people believing that sexual orientation is the same thing as sexual identity. Like I think that's
for me. Ignorance that goes back to also what is a man.
Right. I agree. Well, and there's a toxic masculinity where we get put into this realm where we cannot be emotional, we can't cry, we can't share when we're in trouble or things like that. That's that piece. And then there's the piece that this whole Western or society, or how we're influenced based on what we've known or how we're socialized and what we believe that our father did or our uncle did or our cousin did, right? And so that's how and I think as we grow up, we learn that that's not the right way. Like, that's not how I'm supposed to treat my mom, or that's not how I'm supposed to treat my sister, or that's not how I'm supposed to treat my girlfriend or my boyfriend. Like, I feel like that's, I know when I was in the military, like, you had to be this way. And I was like, that's not who I am. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, that doesn't define who I am as a man. And I think that we get caught up in that because we can be over hyperly masculine. I mean, there's times when I'm hyper masculine because of the threat, or like, I feel like that's the piece that I have to make. And that privilege shows up. So, I don't know if I think that's a self-identity thing and how we want to hold and level out or measure our masculinity. I think that's a self thing for me. But we take on other stuff, other shit. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's what causes the confusion in my eye. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I don't even like the fact that the T is a part of the LGBT community, because everybody confuses it with the sexuality piece. Whereas if there's trans men who can be bisexual, they can be straight, and they can be gay. So that has nothing to do with my transition, has nothing to do with my sexuality at all. So I don't know. That's just for me. But
again, I think that's I think we have to teach people about sexual orientations versus sexual identity. It's right. Just
I mean, I feel like both sexual orientation and gender identity are on a spectrum, so there is no right way or wrong way to do anything. However you feel, you define it for yourself. That's who you are. You get to define that.
Yeah.
I think that if I could go back to just female versus male being out into the world as a trans person. I think that trans women are societally accepted on a level of sexuality that trans men are not publicly. Now, we may have our people who are very into us sexually within our own communities and, utilize us for different reasons. But I mean, as far as in the world, I think that the sexualization of a female or a feminine energy, period, has always been what sells. And so that's just period. I mean, right? I mean, hasn't that always kind of been sex sells and sexuality and femininity and short skirts and high heels, and that's what sells. And so when you have the ultimate high-end femininity, which is what a woman of the trans experience is going to be, because she's going to push her femininity as far as she can to be accepted. When you have the ultimate femininity, I mean, you praise that, right? Because that's what a woman's supposed to be anyway. And that's how I look at it. Whereas, people feel, oh, it's just easier for you to be being a guy. Like, you have no idea the struggles. We're not as exciting, if that makes any sense.
No.
Yeah, I definitely see that. You talked about the T, how it just confuses. And so what is, if you had 30 seconds and you could just say what your ideal presence would be in the world, what would be your elevator speech?
That's good, Johnson.
Yeah, that's a good question. I gotta use that one. Yeah, let me write that
down. That's why she's in the
chair. I gotta write that somewhere. I like that.
Go ahead, Free.
Yeah. All right. Well, and you mean now? Do you mean as a broad spectrum of the world to us, or you mean how are we specifying this?
So you had 30 seconds. You were listening to the person that could change the world. What's your 30-second elevator speech?
If I was president of the United States. Got it. So no, I mean, what I would want everyone to understand is that when we say world peace, and it sounds so corny, but it really truly is something that is very necessary. Stepping to someone not by what they look like or what they smell like or what their surrounding is, but stepping to them and saying, hey, hello, this is who I am. Who are you? That would be my ideal. And being able to build relationships built upon what you tell me and who you tell me that you are. Good. Instead of a preconceived notion. That would, I think, increase probability within love, relationship, politics, and everything, especially within our communities.
Yes.
For me, just like we have been talking about how Black Lives Matter and all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter, that includes Black trans lives. Black trans lives matter. So that means that I am here. I'm not going nowhere, and accept me for who I am. If not, I mean, that's on you. That's your business. I don't have any control over what other people think about me. I only can control how I think about myself, and so I'm going to present myself to the world as I am, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah,
that's true.
I appreciate that. That's really good. I want to read this comment. It talks about because humanity buys into human experience instead of recognizing that we are energy, and energy moves very different than physically natural. Yeah. So I want to just Joy who shared that. And then we have another one. Whether the focus is on society is on my gender identity, sexual orientation, race, or faith, I want to be seen and known for my truth and not for who someone else thinks I should be. Yeah, so that was from Heidi Morgan. So thank you both for sharing those thoughts. And my feed is coming a little bit slow, Johnson. So if you're getting something quicker, by all means, feel free to share.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And what you both said was very powerful, right? And I think that is how that's what needs to be heard, right? So as the construct is LGBTQAI, right? And so we need to know, like your elevator speech, like that 30 seconds can carry us into the broader conversations, right? But if we don't, if we feel, we need to show platforms for them we need to just make sure there's room. But if you're like, all lives can't matter till trans lives matter, right? That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. Sure. So, Freedom, we're reading the feed, right? And so we always joke Sean because he is Mr. Perfection. He's Mr. I need to have it right. And
are you a Virgo, sir?
She's my wife. He's saying that he has the Teddy Riley data plan. So if you watch the Versa with Teddy Riley,
she always joking me. That's my sister, my other sister. She joking.
I gotta go back and watch some of the other shows.
Yeah,
so.
man, yeah.
We get into it, you know. But you know what I love about it? It's the energy that I love about women. Like they don't mind coming and getting in my stuff. So I appreciate that. But I want to ask this other question. So I want to go back to the whole idea of trans men and dating women. Mm-hmm. So you touched a little bit on about it, and again, I'm coming from a space of wanting to learn more. So I have been in experience where I've met men where they date only lesbians. And then I've been in situations where I feel like there's trans men who feel like they've transitioned and gone to the other side of being straight and only date straight women. Do you feel that plays a part in safety or versus the danger part in terms of trans women? And is that true? Is that a fact for not only just you, but do you know of other resources or experiences of other people?
So there has actually, in the circles that I've been in, there has been a lot of controversy about how straight trans men only want to date cis women and not trans women. And it's a lot because it's like, well, with the trans women, do they want a top or do they want a bottom? Because certain, like most of the straight trans men want a cis woman because they don't. I don't want what you have. I have what you have. I don't want what you have to be near me. I'm sorry. Like that. Is a struggle with, okay, I want people to accept me, so I want the cis women to accept me as I am right now. But I can't accept trans women, so it's just a balance. But it's like, but it's just a preference of what I like and what I don't like. I was in a relationship when I started to transition with a lesbian. So, but because she was a lesbian, she didn't really want me because of the way I was changing and how certain things that we did as lesbians, I didn't really want to do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had, I mean, first of all, big disconnection between the lesbian and the trans male. That's another conversation that has to also happen at some point, because there's a huge disconnection. I was a promoter in the lesbian world for a very long time, and everyone knew I was he identified, but I just happened to promote events and different things for a beautiful community of Black and brown people who identified a certain way and needed safe spaces to hang out and do different things, and that's what I did. And people would say to me, well, how come you don't date lesbians if you do these events? And I don't identify as a female. So for me, dating a lesbian never worked out. I tried to date a couple of lesbians even before HRT, and it just doesn't work out, because there are certain things that you're going to expect as a lesbian identified person being with a woman and to woman that you're not going to get from a trans male, pre or post HRT. It doesn't matter, because if you're really a male of the trans experience, there are certain things that are a no-go, and it's an uncomfortable situation depending on who you are. But everything is a specific case, and that's what needs to be very, very much implemented into everyone's mind. Do not generalize us. Do not put us into a category. Do not say all trans men do this. Do not do that. That is a very big problem, I think. I don't know, Ashton, I don't know if you see this too, but that is a huge problem, like just the generalizations, and that's what I think is becoming an issue. I have a lot of friends who are men who are of the trans experience who love men. And they don't care. They love women and men. They just love whoever the hell they love. It has nothing to do with anything. I will say, when you said about safety, some men of the trans experience probably do stay with lesbians and try to make that work because of safety. Not just safety, because of comfort, probably.
Right.
You know, it's or on the other side, maybe date only straight cis women to make themselves feel more like a straight cis man.
I was gonna ask that is that one of the dynamics also? So if you're not comfortable with you go where you feel like you can dominate, because that's you want that type of feedback, you want that type of
that's a good question.
There's a sense of affirmation there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. For me, I just want somebody who accepts me for me. So that in order to do that, you have to fully see me as a man. And sometimes lesbians can't do that, or refuse to do that. So yeah.
Refuse.
I was about to ask: is it more if they refuse to do it? And I think it becomes from a respect factor, right?
Yeah, I had a 6-year engagement that I did not, the person was not with my experience, and I was, stopping my beginning of my transition for this human. And these are things, and this person was bisexual identified, and that's usually who I date because it's easier for me. But it's just you can't allow people to stop you. You can't let love and so that's why sometimes the love for us is a little different. We love you, but it has to be about us first. There's so much changing that we have to love ourselves first. We have to put ourselves first. Very important.
That's so good.
I have so many questions, right? And so I appreciate you all naming that because again, this is how we get to learn. And so we're moving close to time, but I have 2 questions that I kind of want to get in there. And Johnson, forgive me if there's something that you want to add. We can add that in. I don't mind going on over. So one of them is. So tell me, how can cis males, how can men of all spaces support trans male? How do we engage you? How do we make a safe space for you? What is it that you need for us to come to the table and feel safe?
I mean, it would just be recognize that we are men, and so treat us as such. We are men, so treat us as men. I think that even inviting us into spaces, invite us in the locker room, stuff like that. But also make space for conversations like this, because don't be afraid to ask questions, because you won't know if you don't ask. And me, I'm like, I don't feel disrespected unless I feel like you're doing it intentionally. If you're asking questions, that's fine. I will just tell you, oh, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't say that. But, ask questions.
Yeah. I was invited to a trans male sit down, and I used the word bio male. And they all like shunned me and made me feel as if I said something wrong. Now, I wasn't unaware of that word. Honestly, that's real talk, right? And it wasn't like I was doing it intentionally. But there are sometimes when we ask questions, or we're afraid to ask questions because we don't want to get the blowback, right? And so that was an experience that I had where the guy was like, "No, please don't say don't say bio, please say cis." And I was just like, "Okay, thank you." I didn't realize that was a trigger until that day. And so I know for me, sometimes I will pull back on some of the questions just because I'm not quite sure, like, is that going to be received well? Because again, as Johnson mentioned before, like, I'm in here to learn, right? And so how does that play a part in us, getting to a level where we can ask questions and not feel like we did something real bad, right?
That's I think the big deal. So like for me, and what we need, number one, more cis men as allies. Very, very important. We don't have enough allies that are cis men. And I mean, grabbing one of your trans brothers that because a lot of people know one, and if you don't, then that's not your job. But if you know one and you happen to know a trans guy or know of a trans guy, try to be involved. What can I do? Maybe, to come to, do you have anything that I can come support you in? Do you have anything that, these are important things, even though it could, because whatever we do, it's like going to school, right? If we don't know something, we're going to go to school, right? I mean, isn't that what we're going to do? We're going to grab a book. We're going to read about it. So grab your friend that you don't know about, and then also ask your friends. Now that you know about people of the trans experience, now that you're informed, go to your group of friends and say, one drunken night, having a beer, hey, yo, you guys know anybody, that's, you know what I'm saying? Bring it up. Have the conversation. It's uncomfortable and it's hard, but have it. Be the one person, the one guy that's gonna have the convo when nobody else is. And also, don't be the guy that sits there and goes, "Oh yeah, ha ha ha, you're right," when you really don't feel that way.
Yeah. So how do you? This is very good, thank you. But how do you make it to it not be kind of what I call the fishbowl syndrome, right? So I'm just kind of sitting here looking at you, waiting for you to do like so. So really good question, Sean. And I think what some of the feedback that I've had from trans men and trans women is they feel like they're a fish in a bowl and people are just looking at them, right? So you say grab your trans brother and kind of take him under your wing and talk to him. And is there, and for you to, I appreciate you both being so open. And, in my personal experience, some of the trans men that I know denied that they had a process, right?
Yeah.
And so, it's one of those things where
that's another conversation that we all,
I love you, I accept you.
That's a fight between ourselves. Like we go through it, but that's personal to us. You know what I mean? It's like, it's funny because it's almost like all these private things that nobody really knows that we go through. It's like, oh my God, everybody's gonna know. It's funny. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
I dig it. We had some comments on the side where it talks about grateful for the info. I thought trans women only dated lesbians. I love conversation. I love the conversation. Spend time with one and learn, do their work and learn and understand. There's a dynamic and six male privilege. Absolutely. That's what white people say. Do a transsexual 101 class and get in a relationship and raise the questions. Absolutely. Brothers and sisters can tell if you are being genuine and use the same tools that you use the same tools that you across race. So yeah, all that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a learning experience, right? And so what I may use in my race situation, maybe I'm not thinking about it in this situation. And it's for me, that's the link that I have to continually to merge.
Yeah.
So I appreciate all those comments.
Absolutely.
And
that's like nowadays when they're asking people, are you black, white, Spanish? Nobody knows anymore. That doesn't really exist. Like, it's like, we're all mixed, right? Obviously you're black or brown. That's obvious. That's not what I'm saying. That's always something to be very strong and proud of. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, we're all mixed. Trying to have me pull on one race and explain that to you just doesn't make sense. Same way me trying to explain my identity and brought it out. It's hard to explain that, but you just have to accept it, try to understand it and move on. But with the men who don't want to talk about the fact that they have transitioned, we have to respect that too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
No, you're right. You're right.
Absolutely.
You're
and it's not your job to out them to anyone else, ever.
Right.
And that's very important to know. I had a situation where I had one of my best friends come over here. This was very recent. And when she speaks about me, she says, oh, Freedom and his girlfriend, or Freedom. And, that's the way she's just, that's my friend. So when she doesn't preface people coming to my house that I'm a T guy, you know what I'm saying? So she brings a friend over. The friend, I guess, didn't know. And we started talking about body image and about struggling with dysphoria, because she had dysphoria with just as a woman, as a cis woman, just with her body, period. And I was like, well, listen, I wanted to. I was okay with it in that moment because that was my choice. That was my choice in my house with company, in my safe domain. This young lady got so upset when she realized that she wanted to leave and lost the friendship with my friend because my friend didn't tell her that I was trans before she went over there.
Oh, wow.
And that's a story that's an example of what we're going through and still going through.
Yeah. You mentioned to me yesterday there was some other stuff that you all were going through where you feel men aren't allowed to talk about in terms of the danger and the abuse that you all suffer.
Yeah, I think that it segues also from what people think that men are supposed to be like, because I think that there are certain things, whether it's sexual abuse or just feeling objectified, because people always think of objectification with feminism, and that's not always the case. And objectification comes very much so with our bodies, especially from women of the trans experience. And that's not to disrespect my sisters. I love you. You are, you're my babies. But there unfortunately are some times when we experience that as well. And also when we experience certain types of maybe sexual abuse, or again, feeling like we're being taunted or used in a sexual way just for a hole or for a body or for whatever it is that you may have. These are things that are important to talk about, because cis men are also using transgender men for their bodies as well. And just kind of calling it, oh, it doesn't matter. And, and so these are conversations that need to be had. There's a lot of rape, there's a lot of abuse, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of touching and grabbing and groping that goes on that I personally have experienced, like just trying to be touched because somebody was like, oh, you're a T guy, and try to touch the body. Thank God I'm a Marine, because, I can handle myself.
Right. Yeah.
But,
not everybody can. What about those that cannot handle themselves?
That's my point. That's my point right there.
Yeah.
So just at the very least, my cis beautiful men, you know what I'm saying? At the very least, just keep it to yourself. If you're not with it, just keep it to yourself and just work through it internally. Don't allow that anger to come outside, please. Yeah. Very important.
Yeah.
We are at time, but I just want to thank you all and let you all know that at Unity Fellowship Church of Baltimore, we want to have open arms. We want to embrace. We want to learn. We want to keep this conversation going. I don't want this to just stop here. My pastor doesn't want this to just stop here. Our fellas at our church don't want it to just stop here. And so I'm committed. My pastor,
the whole church.
The whole church.
The fellas don't, and the sisters don't either. We want.
I appreciate you naming that. You're right. And so we all are willing.
Just you stay in that chair. All right, you stay in that chair.
Yeah, because that's why she's in the chair, which is really real. Like, think about that, right? Yeah. That helps add the balance, I feel. And so we are all willing to just be in conversation with you all throughout this journey and for continuing on. I think, and I think our pastor mentioned, like, build that relationship. And so we look forward to continue to build this relationship with you. And if there's anything that we can do to help support you, please don't hesitate to contact us.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want,
you are more than welcome in New York. I have a huge community out here of friends and base.
We would love to come. We actually have a church in New York, so we would love to come and support you. Again, that's about sharing information. Let us know. We'll let you know. We want to continue again to embrace this conversation. I will go back and take this back to our church and our leadership, and it's our hope that we can have a bigger conversation on a bigger level, to where we can invite others in to have this conversation. Straight men, gay men, bi men, trans men, all of us together having a conversation. People who just don't even identify, non-binary. We just want to truly have a serious conversation. Women, all of us that have trans women, all of us that have a conversation to where we can grow from this and level up in terms of knowledge and education, so that we can treat each other respectfully and in loving and in action with a great hope to continue to live a blessed life.
Absolutely. The last thing, we have 74 more days until Election Day. This is we have these type of platforms. We have these types of conversations. It is more of these need to be had. We need to go from online and take it to the voting booths. However you're choosing to do that this year, make sure that you have your mail-in ballots. If you have not requested them, get them now. Make sure that you have reached out to your whomever, brother, sister, cousin, mother, uncle, friend, to make sure that you are ensuring that they are registered. Make sure that
I'm a little nervous about the options, but you still have to vote.
So, it's one of those things, man.
Hey, what we'll say is make sure you vote.
It's one of those things that you order from Amazon, but you got what Wish had, right? So
that's right. You still need a change.
The Amazon package was
I didn't know what happened when there was options. Like, let's not do that option thing again.
Yeah, so the convention for Democrats just ended. We have the convention for the GOP in a couple of weeks. So everybody's being prepared. So we want to make sure that you're informed and prepared. Make sure that you know who the candidates are, from the highest to the lowest, right? This is a big year from Congress. This is a big year for the leading of our nation. And in a lot of cities and states, it's a big year for your governors, for who's representing you throughout the years. And so please make sure that you're registered to vote.
Just want to
Absolutely.
name this pin out here. Our pastor, Jamie Washington, you are fully welcome at Unity Fellowship Church Movement and Unity
Thank
Fellowship
you.
Church Baltimore. So that's from him. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
he would love to be here to talk with you both. And I'm sure this won't be, I promise you, he's going to connect. So, this was great. And I hope you all thought it was great too. I thank you so much for sharing.
Anytime.
Thank you.
I can't wait to get back together. I really want to do that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you
Freedom,
very
you're
much.
hilarious.
Thank you for having
Tell
me.
people about your art. Tell people about your art.
Oh, Ashton or me?
You, Freedom.
Oh, me. Okay.
Yeah.
No. I have a nonprofit organization for urban and minority artists. We provide production resources for all minority artists in any vein. So if you have an idea, we will help it come to life. I'm a writer and playwright, and I've had my show off Broadway a couple of times. I do it. I teach acting. Yeah, I love it. So if it's our community, I'm gonna uplift us as much as we can.
That's what's up. And
So how do we find you? How do we find you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can check out New Spirit Productions on Instagram, New Spirit Productions with an S, or Defly Free, DAFLYFREE is my personal page.
Cool.
Nice.
We'll get that information. Make sure we post it to our Facebook page and all our social media platforms.
Thank you.
Ashton, talk about your art too, because dude, you got crazy art.
I mean, so I do have a business. It's called Perfect Choice Consulting, where I do business consulting. So small businesses want to create businesses, or I also do provide digital media where I do flyers, logos, and several things like that.
We have to talk.
Oh yeah,
That shit.
Yes.
yeah. So
I just started a candle business. I'm gonna need you.
awesome. Yeah.
Oh wow,
absolutely.
nice.
Yeah. So I am on every social media. Perfect Choice Consulting.
Nice. He's good too. He's done all the logos.
Yeah.
He's hot.
I have a Made with Sugar and Love is the name of my new candle company. We just sold out at our event the other day. So
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You guys are great.
As always, Mr. Robinson, it's great to share space with you. I love you.
I love you too, sister. I love you, Freedom. I love you,
Love
Ashton.
you, Freedom. Love you, Ashton.
Love you guys. Yes.
Listen, like I'm gonna be calling you, Freedom. Like, what's going on, man? Like, listen.
Let's do it.
No, we
Let's meet in DC, man. Let's do it. Let's meet in Philly. Let's do it.
I'm only in DC for one more month. I'm moving, bro. So
Where you going?
going to Alabama.
Hey, getting more south. Yeah, you got to run away from these cities. That's what we need right now. Run away. Get away, boy. Get away.
We love you. Thank you for all those that chimed in. Please share this because obviously this is how we get information out there. It's just the need to know. We want everyone to know, right? And so please share this. We love you. We'll see you on next Friday. Thanks again,
guys.
And we're going to leave with our bishop. Mwah.